Hello everyone and welcome to Earp Sister Feels. This is our episode number 19. And my name is Kevin Batchelder, and on this video I'm going to be discussing the Wynonna Earp episode When You Call My Name, which is season 3, episode number 2. Welcome back for regular viewers, and a special welcome for any of you that are new to these videos. I have a blast talking about my rewatch of the first 3 seasons of Wynonna Earp with a focus on the Earp Sister scenes as we're going through. So I very much like to make these community type projects. So for the first approximately 48 hours after I release each of these videos on social media, you'll notice down below there's a button that basically says record a reply. You can send in your comments, video comments, and then when I'm done after that period of time, I release these up on YouTube with several comments from many of you. There's some folks who reply pretty regularly and some every now and then, and new folks who are jumping in from time to time, which is wonderful. No special app needed. All you have to do is tap that button on your smartphone. You can record the video, play it back, make sure you're comfortable, and then save and send it to me. It's a great way to have some fun rewatching Wynonna Earp. So do encourage everyone and anyone to jump in and get involved. As most of you know, I am planning to get these done before Earp Expo, which is taking place in the middle of June because we have an Earp Sister panel happening there that I am very honored to be moderating. When I first started these videos back in January, I thought I'd have a nice leisurely pace to get through the EPs, but then, as many of you know, everything that happened with the fight for Wynonna kind of threw the schedule off. So if it seems like these are coming out a little quicker now, they are, because I only have less than 30 days now to finish things up. So going a little quicker than we have in the past, but we're having fun. So looking forward to you folks sharing some thoughts, or just sit back and watch the videos and have fun, whatever works for you, because I'm certainly have a blast doing it. All right, let's talk about the Earp Sister scenes and content from this particular episode. We don't have any stuff together with the two of them really until much later in the episode, as you know, based on what's going to play out here after Wynonna, was thrown basically onto the side of the cliff after the truck accident and Waverly was taking. We don't actually have the two of them together in a scene, as I said, until, goodness, a good part of the way through the entire episode. However, as you know, and if you certainly step back and look at it this way, almost the entire episode, up until that first time they get together, is everyone else talking about the Earp sisters and trying to help them and figure out what's happened. So it's kind of interesting to me that while there's no direct scenes from them until those couple near the last third or so, the whole episode is all about them. And we're all here for that, certainly as Earp sister fans. But the first time we do have them together is actually when Wynonna comes into the Cabin of Horrors, as it was nicknamed, and discovers Waverly in the cage, and Waverly doesn't have her voice. So, we get the whole mime situation of Waverly trying to get some ideas across to Wynonna. And we get the fun little chuckles about the breast alligator and all as she's trying to tell her, what to do and not to do, so Wynonna doesn't get killed or maimed doing it, which, as I said, you can tell, with the smile on my face, makes for some chuckles. But it actually leads to some very serious stuff, because at one point when Wynonna is trying to break her out of the cage by banging on the lock and everything and can't do it, Waverly holds up the prison pass, which is what Wynonna had just given to her before the accident. So it makes for, a very serious scene with Wynonna trying to explain why and some of the stuff that's going on, even in the midst of all that crazy stuff and being held captive and not having her voice. There's still just some amazing Earp sister exchanges there as they do that. And then the two of them together happens a little later, right towards the end of the episode, actually, back at the crash site. Once, Wynonna has tricked the bad guy and we've gotten Waverly out and she's got her voice back. Waverly is the one asking, and joking even, hey, you're awful quiet, even though I finally have my voice back, about how long she's known about Mama. And Wynonna, even when she makes mistakes, this is a big part of why we love this show, she owns up and is honest and basically says she's known all along. And that had to kill Waverly. And that had to hurt big time. And she asked Dolls to kind of give her the ride as they're breaking up. Before we have the big, emotional part of the episode that obviously the Earp sisters are a part of, but they're not so much the focus of. And that's the fact that we have the big fight with Bolshar's lapdog. With Nicole dangling, over the cliff and all that's going on there. And then, Dolls having to sacrifice himself to save the team. And then Waverly and Wynonna, being with him there after he's died. and all that goes on. So I'm trying not to get too emotional here, but you all know, you've watched it probably like me multiple times. It's very difficult to watch when you lose someone that we love, like dolls that we've had with us since the beginning. And just tear-jerking, heart-wrenching dialogue there as the two of them deal with what's happened. Waves being the one to tell him that he's gone, and Wynonna not wanting to accept it, and she's not going to leave him because, again, he hates the woods, and she would never leave him alone. And she's breaking down, and she's breaking down there with Waverly. And certainly the big sis, little sis part kind of flips there as Waverly has to be the one to just let Wynonna deal with it and get as emotional as she has right there. And it's some pretty powerful stuff. And, if you had any chance, if you're anything like me and you had a chance to keep it together a little bit for that, once Mama appears there and Waves and Mama both say at the same time, he's at peace now. Oh my God, puddles, absolute puddles for them dealing with that, which is so appropriate. So it's some powerful stuff, and we're going to have even more grief to deal with in the next episode. But I'm here for it, because this, to me, and for many of us, is why we love this show, is because it does feel so real, even in an unreal situation, and it makes us all feel these things for these characters and the people who create them. So some really good stuff, really well done, very emotional. We're still building up, got another 10 episodes to finish out season 3, so some really good stuff. I'm very curious to hear some thoughts from you folks. If you want to send in the videos, I'd love it. And if you're not a video person, please, just respond on Twitter with some of your comments and thoughts, or in the comments on YouTube once these go up. I know some folks do that. I really enjoy the community style of it. So looking forward to having a lot of fun the next few weeks leading up to Earp Expo. And we're all doing a great job in our fight for Wynonna, so certainly continue everything there. I'm going to stay positive and hope we hear something soon from IDW. But having a blast with the show, and appreciate all of you and your comments and thoughts. I'm having a blast, and all of you are a big part of why. So keep them coming. I hope you all take care.
Hi everyone, Jessica here, going to provide some comments on the Earp Sisters for episode 302. First of all, this episode is pretty much all about Wynonna doing whatever it takes to save Waverly. She puts her arm back into place and climbs up a mountain after she's been in this pretty terrible car accident. And then I know, these next two comments aren't exactly Earp Sister related, but I love the way that they used Mama as Wynonna's subconscious. It's brilliant. Not only is it the voice to remind Wynonna to keep going, but we as viewers get a window into what Mama was like in her relationship with younger Wynonna. The line that Mama says, it's not the fall that's going to kill you, it's the fear, is one of my favorite lines. And then when Wynonna opens up to Mama about, Waverly and her needing their mother, and then Mama's come back with, what about Alice? That moment is just so real, and because yes, it's Mama that we see saying it, but it's really Wynonna's subconscious, and it's like her saying that to herself. And then the first scene that we see them together, even in such dire circumstances like Waverly being trapped in a cage, it's so funny. And the acting with Dom and Mel was just really good. How Waverly's needing to mime, and Wynonna's answers were just really funny. And then when Wynonna gets to the cage, that scene was really emotional. The fact that Waverly couldn't use her voice to talk about the prison pass, and Wynonna knowing, and that Wynonna had to say everything. That, and with the music, again, was just really real and emotional. And then same with the conversation by the truck. It's a pretty devastating moment. You can see the defeat and anger that Waverly has as she's walking away, because she just can't take it anymore at that moment. And then last, the scene at the end is probably one of the most emotional scenes for me in this in the entire series. From the writing to the acting to the way it was filmed, as Waverly and Wynonna are sitting with Dolls' body, what Mel and Dom and Megan, along with the writing, what they showed us was just extremely powerful and real. I love that they brought Mama back, and Mama and Waverly are saying he's at peace now, and then they each echo, there's no more pain, there's no more drugs, and Wynonna says there's no more demons. Just a really powerful and moving scene. And in the way that the music comes in and the camera pans up, it just hits you right in the heart. So yeah, those are my comments. Thanks. Bye.
Hey, Natalie's office here, Jill. I have missed the last couple of episodes with the Earp Sister Feels, and that's sad. But here I am with 302, and 302 is a doozy. There are actually 4 things I want to kind of discuss, so I gotta go quickly. First, as Kevin pointed out, the sisters aren't necessarily on screen a lot together in this episode, but the scenes they have together are super emotion drenched, and also the first thing that I wanted to talk about is how this episode started, which was with Waverly being dragged away and screaming Wynonna's name. That's who she was screaming for. And then you cut to Wynonna, kind of barely conscious, waking up on the side of this cliff. And whose name is she mumbling? She's mumbling Waverly's name. That's the... For Waverly, she's screaming out to Wynonna, like, I need your help. And for Wynonna barely waking up, she's going, I need to help Waverly. And that kind of sets the tone for this episode. And then the second thing I want to discuss is sort of just seriously go and watch the first 15 minutes of this episode and absorb it. There are so many, there's so many one-liners, but there's also just so many, there's so much information about Wynonna's childhood in here that, we've gotten little clips of Waverly's childhood, that why it wasn't so great, or Willa's childhood and why it wasn't so great, and Wynonna's childhood and why it wasn't so great. But I think this episode really, if you watch those first 15 minutes and think about what Wynonna's childhood was like, if this is really the kind of camping trips that her mom took her on, I kind of go, wow, that's a little screwed up. And you kind of go, okay, I understand Wynonna, but one of the things Wynonna says during that is that at one point, the faux mom, her subconscious mom, said, we don't even know if Waverly's alive, and Wynonna just yells back, I don't leave her behind ever. And she's so adamant, I do not leave Waverly behind ever. And this was, doesn't matter what her childhood was like, it doesn't matter what the situation like, it doesn't matter what the rules of survival are. For Wynonna, don't leave Waverly behind is one of the number one rules. You can tell. Again, the first 15 minutes of this episode is just out of this world. Please go and watch it if you haven't rewatched it recently. And the other thing I come back to that also struck me in this episode was when Wynonna finally does meet up with Waverly. Waverly's being kept in that little cage, and they, and Waverly flashes the prison badge, and Wynonna kind of admits, like, yeah, I know what you're asking, and the way she says you were tiny, again, I just think about, go back to what Wynonna's childhood was like, and how tiny Waverly was, and Wynonna just wanted to protect Waverly. That's all she's wanted to do, and it's all coming to a head in this episode. All she wants to do is protect Waverly. And in this scene, she's not able to protect her. She's not able to free Waverly from that cage that she's in physically. And she's also not able to explain to her emotionally why she didn't tell her about Mama. And it's just that, you know, in that sense, it's both this amazing, wonderful sister scene, but also kind of an emotionally devastating scene between the two of them. And then lastly, yeah, it's, you know, the end scene when Wynonna is, or when Waverly has been freed, and she's asking Wynonna why she didn't tell her, you know, and she says she's known all along, and they go away, and this is the really, it's not a Earp Sister moment thing, but Dolls leads Waverly away, and Waverly says, why didn't she tell me? And Dolls says, I'm going to read here. He says, it's hard to tell people the truth if you know it will devastate them. It's hard. And that, of course, is a little bit of a leeway into the fact that nobody, you know, Dolls didn't tell anybody that he was sick. So we have that factoring in to this, you know, to the emotions of this episode. So yeah, the Wynonna's utter protection of Waverly throughout, and her choices not to tell Waverly certain things, it's all jumbled. And this episode is just, there's so much to it. There's so much to it, and I could go on for as long as this episode lasted. But I see I'm already running out of time, or I'm over time. So I can't wait to talk about more Earp Sister Feels in the next episode. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, everyone. Fight for Wynonna.